Most businesses don't break all at once. They drift. Quietly, incrementally, one small compromise at a time. Most businesses don't fail all at once. They drift. Quietly, incrementally, one small compromise at a time.
Welcome to Built to Carry, the podcast for business owners who have built successful businesses but find themselves carrying more of the weight than they ever expected. I'm Darren Cioffi. I'm a fractional CFO, business coach, entrepreneur, and business owner. For more than 30 years, I worked alongside business owners, helping them understand their numbers, improve profitability, strengthen cash flow, and build businesses that don't depend on them for every decision. Over those 30 years, I've learned something important. Most business problems aren't financial problems. The financial systems are usually just the first place they show up. The real issues are almost always structural. They're hidden in leadership. They're hidden in systems. They're hidden in decision making. They're hidden in habits that have been repeated for years. Built to Carry is about helping you build a business strong enough to carry growth, carry change, carry challenges, and ultimately carry on without everything resting on your shoulders. Because your business should be built to carry you, not built to crush the owner. Now, let's get to today's episode. Hey, welcome to Built to Carry. Today we're going to talk about the roots. Why drift starts before decisions feel wrong. See, in our last episode, we talked about drift. We talked about how businesses rarely get into trouble because of one big mistake. Just like airplanes don't usually crash because of one big mistake. It's a series of small deviations that go unnoticed. But today, I want to talk about something even more important. Where drift actually begins. Because here's what most business owners believe. They believe the problem starts when the numbers go bad, or when cash gets tight, or when employees leave, or when customers complain. But see, those are just symptoms. They're not causes. See, the cause started much earlier. And if you want to understand that, we need to talk about trees. Now, if you've listened to me for any length of time, you probably heard me talk about trees. The reason is simple. A tree is one of the best business models you'll ever find. Think about that for a second. When a tree starts having problems, where do most people look? The leaves, the branches, the visible parts. If the leaves are turning brown, we focus on the leaves. If the branch breaks, we focus on the branch. But that's not where the problem started. The problem almost always started on the ground, in the roots. See, the roots determine what the tree can carry. The roots determine how it responds to storms. The roots determine whether it survives drought. The roots determine how tall it can grow. You see, business works exactly the same way. The things people see, sales, growth, profit, employees, customers, those are the leaves. The roots are something else entirely. Now, what are the roots? Well, the roots are your values, your mission, your standard, your decision-making framework, your willingness to enforce what matters. And here's the problem. Most business owners spend all their time looking at the leaves. Almost nobody looks at the roots. Let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was working with a business owner. I'll call him Jake. Jake owned a technology company. Smart guy, driven, hardworking. The kind of person everybody assumes is going to succeed. When we first met, he told me, Darren, I don't understand why everything feels harder than it should. Now, that's a statement I hear all the time. Everything feels harder than it should. So I started asking questions. Revenue wasn't the issue. Customers weren't the issue. The team wasn't the issue. Then I asked him a question, and believe it or not, it stopped him cold. I asked, why does your business exist? And he gave me the answer most business owners give. We help businesses improve efficiency through technology. Sounds good, right? Professional, polished, maybe even impressive. The problem was I didn't believe a word of it. Not because it wasn't true, because it wasn't real. It sounded like something he copied from a website. So I asked again, why does your business exist? And this time there was silence. Now here's what's interesting. Most business owners have never answered that question. Not really. See, they know what they do. They know what they sell. They know how they make money. But they don't know why they're doing it. And before somebody says, Darren, that's just motivational nonsense. No, it's not. See, your mission becomes your decision-making filter. When things get hard, and they always do, your mission tells you what matters. It tells you what to say yes to. It tells you what to say no to. It tells you where to invest. It tells you where to pull back. Without that filter, every decision becomes emotional. And emotional decision-making is where drift begins. Now, here's another thing I see all the time. Business owners borrow their roots. They copy somebody else's mission statement. They copy somebody else's values. They copy somebody else's culture. They read a book. See, they'll go online and they'll look for competitors and read their websites and see what their mission statement is and see what their values are and go, I want to be just like them. And they just copy that stuff. You know? By listening to a podcast or attending a conference, that's not going to tell you what your values are. You know what your values are inside. See, they do all these things and they try to become somebody else. But here's the problem. Borrowed roots don't hold, because when pressure shows up, you always revert to who you actually are, not who you pretend to be. Not who your website says you are. Not who your mission statement says you are. Who you actually are. And that's why so many businesses struggle. They're trying to build growth on a foundation that they don't truly believe in. You know that term, and I hear it all the time, and it makes me crazy. Fake it till you make it. Right? I'm just getting started out. I'll fake it till I make it. Well, you know what? You're setting yourself up for failure. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay? Because fake it till you make it is actually, that's some of the worst business advice ever given. Now, don't get me wrong. Confidence matters. Stepping outside your comfort zone matters. But pretending to be something you're not, that's dangerous. Because eventually you stop building a business and start maintaining an image. You stop asking, what do I believe? And start asking, what would a successful business owner do? You stop making decisions based on your values. And you start making decisions based on appearances. Well, let's drift. And it starts on the ground, long before it ever shows up in the numbers. So let me give you a test. The next time you're facing a difficult decision, ask yourself this question. What principle is driving this decision? Not, will it make money? Not, what will people think? That's the worst thing you can do. not what's easiest. Ask, what principle am I protecting? Because if you can't answer that question, you're probably reacting instead of leading. And reactive business drift, no good. See, roots aren't slogans, roots are actions. A business that values integrity doesn't sell something it knows won't work. A business that values people doesn't sacrifice employees every time profits get squeezed. A business that values excellence doesn't tolerate mediocrity. The roots show up under pressure, not when things are easy. When things are hard, that's when you find out what the business is actually built on. Now, let's bring this back to what I do as a CFO, because eventually every root problem becomes a financial problem. Always. If your mission isn't clear, you'll chase opportunities that don't fit. What do I mean by don't fit? Well, it's real simple. Somebody shows up at your door and says, hey, I want to pay you to do something that is not quite in your wheelhouse, but I need the cash, so I'll do it now. And, and then we'll when the money starts coming in, we'll stop doing it. And, well, that creates wasted resources. See, if your values aren't clear, you'll hire the wrong people. That's happened to me. I've hired the wrong people based on thinking what I thought my values were. And that creates turnover. Because eventually, when your true roots show, your values show, if the person doesn't fit, they're going to move on. So if your standards aren't clear, you'll tolerate things you shouldn't. And that creates inefficiency. Eventually, every one of those decisions shows up in your financial statements. Not because accounting is magic. It's not. Because the numbers tell the truth. The numbers reveal the consequences of decisions. Good decisions, bad decisions, and everything in between. So let me tell you about this client I worked with years ago who wanted to grow faster. Every conversation was about growth. More customers, more revenue, more employees, more locations, more everything. Finally, I asked, why? And he looked at me like I had three heads, because that's what successful businesses do. I said, no, that's what bigger businesses do. Success and size are not the same thing. That conversation changed everything, because the first time he stopped asking, how do we grow, and started asking, what are we trying to build? Those are two very different questions. And the second one creates much better decisions. So here's my challenge for you this week. Ask yourself these three questions. Why does my business actually exist? What principles guide my decisions? And where am I borrowing somebody else's values instead of trusting my own? Because drift doesn't start in your bank account. It doesn't start in your operations. It doesn't start in your sales department. It starts on the ground, in the roots. And if the roots aren't strong, eventually everything above them becomes harder to carry. Next time, we're going to talk about the trunk, the part of the business that's supposed to carry the weight, and why so many business owners become the structure instead of building one. I'm Darren Cioffi. Thank you for joining me on Built to Carry. And remember, drift is inevitable. Collapse is optional. I'll see you next time.
The bank says pressure, everybody smiling, but the structure gets lesser. Payroll Friday, can't sleep Thursday night. Everybody needs answers and they're looking left and right. Every problem routes back to the same damn chair. Everybody says they got it till nobody's there. No alarms, no crash, just a slow pull off course. You don't notice drift till the weight gets worse. Built to carry. It doesn't look like danger, built to carry. Feels normal to the owner. One more fix, one more file, one more late night while till the business owns a builder. Instead of getting getting stronger. Instead of getting stronger. Cash moving fast, but the margin's getting thin. Growth covering weakness like paint over rusted tin. Meetings about systems, but nobody follows through. Everybody wants clarity, still depends on you. You built the machine, now the machine won't stop, and every small shortcut becomes another crack. Structure, not hustle.